Wyverns and Weirdos Curse of Strahd is a horror-themed campaign, and as such contains dark themes, including descriptions of gore, violence, and other features intrinsic to the gothic horror genre. Hello, and welcome to Wyverns and Weirdos does Curse of Strahd. I'm your Dungeon Master, Darby, and joining me as always are Zoe, playing Sevia, Emily, playing Beatrice, Laura, playing Conrad, Mitch, playing Exley, and Johanna, playing Fall. Let's jump into it. Where we last left off, the party ascended the towers of Ravenloft to find the Heart of Sorrow, and after coming into combat with it and its animated halberd guards, the party were able to destroy the heart, shattering it into 1,000 pieces. However, there was a brief fear of a casualty, as during a shaking of the tower, Esmeralda lost her footing and fell down to the ground and was saved just in time by some healing from Exley. So, what would you like to do?
Well, first off, I believe the last thing Sevia did was fireball a bunch of halberds whilst crying, and then watched Exley leap into the abyss. And she is right on the edge of the little platform where we were. She's gonna fall to her knees and like clamber to the edge, and both out loud and also through the telepathic bond, just in a panic, is gonna go, Esmeralda, 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 are you there? Are you there, Esmeralda?
I'm here. A little worse for wear, but give me a bit and I'll be right back up.
You're alive. She's alive. She's alive. Oh my god.
Barely.
Yes, we can all hear through the telepathic link. We heard that.
Sevia just kind of sits back on her little haunches and is just like, ha.
Conrad kind of like just pulls at his collar a bit, looking uncomfortable because he made an insensitive joke, and then everyone looks genuinely worried about Esmeralda. It's like, oh, good, she's alive. Good. How? I presume Exley didn't. Okay. Good. Exley too, then?
Perhaps we should go down.
Yes. Okay.
Take a moment to regroup.
Contract will awkwardly put his rapier back in its sheath and then kind of like look at everyone that is sort of like slope downstairs.
She's alive. Okay, that's good. That's good. It's very, very good. And Sevia suddenly becomes very embarrassed that she's been crying and starts like trying to just rub at her face and try and get rid of all the tears.
Beatrice sort of reaches down and just pats Sevia on the head.
Thank you. We're fine. We're all fine. We're all very good. Yes, good. We should go downstairs. Yes.
Yes, we should.
Okay. Yes. Fall just kind of like after hearing that, kind of just like slumped like all the energy. Like all the energy that fades away and disappears after you have a shock. everyone just kind of stands there a moment before, walking over to Sevia.
Are you okay?
Yeah, great. Yes. That turned out okay. I guess. Paul kind of thinks about like how ridiculous it seems to ask if Sevia's okay when she obviously isn't.
You did a good job against the helpers.
Thanks. Yeah, they were weirdly easily breakable, I guess. Yes, good job as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting very good at that one, yes.
Absolutely. It always works really well.
Do you, we should go with the others downstairs. Hold my hand?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, let's try to support each other. We're all a little shaken.
Yeah.
And Fall grips her hand like tighter than he usually does.
She like leans really hard into his side more than she usually does. And then waits for everyone to kind of be on the same level before following everyone downstairs.
Okay, so you make your way down.
And we toddle away. Waddle, 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 waddle.
Of course.
So you make your way down to the main level of the castle through this tower, and you see the mosaic tiled floor. You see Esmeralda kind of beaten and bruised, kind of tending to her own wounds. You see what is Exley doing?
He would have broken limbs.
Exley is also helping to tend to any wounds. Not like effectively, but placing a finger on an edge of a bandage so it can be tied up.
All right. Yeah. So I don't think she has necessarily anything that can help her with it, but yeah. So I might need a moment if we can take it. What's news on Strahd and Valaki?
You look at Exley.
Look at Exley.
Looks expectantly at Exley.
Yeah.
Exley was just sort of standing there, and then when everyone's eyes turned and looked at him, Strahd and some of his colleagues are indisposed. They will, however, be making their way back shortly, I would assume.
Good. Excellent. Good. Well, that is satisfactory then. I will also note when Conrad kind of like sloping it, he probably would have also tried to gesture to like try to get Prime to come down. I don't know if Prime will listen to him now. But he would have suggested that he comes downstairs with them. But when he did come down first, Conrad was kind of like covering his eyes and then like peeking through them. And then when he saw Esmeralda was miraculously in one piece or some pieces, he was like, oh, okay, cool. And then we've just like stood like very straight, like in kind of a corner. But yeah, so he's like, good, well, excellent. Do you have any estimate on time, or how did you get here so quickly? 42.
I have many abilities that allow me to get through the trees very speedily and unseen.
Good. Well, most fortunate then. Fantastic. Well, we have much to celebrate then. Esmeralda is in some semblance of peace, and the heart is not. Is there any like residue, I guess, or a thumbs up or a thumbs down, Darby, of the heart?
There are shards.
Okay, cool.
And
So,
there does seem to be an element of magical energy to the shards. But they're probably ineffective as their purpose as the heart.
Would Conrad's dagger have fallen down here?
Yes.
That's right.
So if you desire to collect that, you very much can.
Well, I suppose if Esmeralda could survive that drop, a dagger certainly could have as well then. So he'll kind of then like awkwardly look over that, see that he's still kind of being awkward or people aren't responding to him, and then kind of just like straighten himself up and then kind of like putting his hands in his pockets and like start like rummaging through, like shuffling through, walking around the little heart shards to look for the dagger, I guess.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, with Exley having an ability to fly, as the raven flies, as you will, roughly how long would Exley be able to estimate it would take to get from Ravenloft to the church?
Roll me an intelligence check.
Okay. So sorry, I've just realised I haven't got any dice out for this. Which is weird for D&D. You'd think I should have some. I rolled a 7. That's just a straight 7.
So it's hard to tell. You know, if you were taking that trip as a raven, or some other bird, it would probably be a couple of hours. Though at the same time, you've got no idea like how fast Strahd will be able to do that, because he seemed capable of a reasonably faster flying speed than the average bat as well.
So Exley would relay that to the rest of the group, who would say, there is potential for Strahd to be here within perhaps an hour, perhaps more.
So, we might have an idea, an opportunity to take a bit of a rest, and then find a place to ambush.
As much as is possible in one's own home.
I mean, I certainly feel, Esmeralda, that regardless of what the rest of us do, you should certainly take a rest, a full hour if you can. If Strahd arrives back early, you can certainly remain hidden while the rest of us at least fend him off until you can come and assist. As much as all of us should take a rest, I certainly feel it is pertinent for you to be as healthy as possible. You are, of course, mentioned in the prophecy.
Worst case scenario, if I can't catch my breath, I've got some spells I can throw off from a distance.
Yes. Wonderful. Splendid.
Yes, and theoretically I can do some small healing to help you as well.
Oh, can you? Oh, wonderful.
That would be much appreciated.
Theory is just practice without the practice part. So if we find somewhere safe, then we should be fine.
Yes.
Yes. Wherever may be safe in a place such as this. Ah.
It does seem very strangely empty, this place. If we can find a small room to barricade ourselves in, maybe that would work.
That could certainly work.
I don't see any on the map.
Yes, mine is taking a very long time to zoom out. But, Prime's just right there.
Yes.
Ooh. But I don't know, as much as I have an idea of the schematics of this place, Beatrice, Conrad, did you see any rooms that you think would make good little hovels, hidey holes for healing and such?
The only room we really saw was the dining room. But there is a secret passage behind that people can get in and out.
Yes, Strahd did, however, he was was behind the organ he was playing, so we can assume that he is very aware of it, but then he's probably very aware of everything in his castle, considering he's been here for a long time, so I think the best place is just to find anywhere we can barricade ourselves for a moment and attempt to rest, and then do whatever comes after.
There is also the threat that on our last meeting with Strahd in this location, Strahd was able to move through doors.
Yes, this is a good point.
It is very true.
I feel the best thing to do would be to find somewhere that gives anyone good comfort and make sure everyone is there's a person facing each point of the room. And then to see how restful you can be with that. Whoever sees the first sign of anyone arriving will then be able to alert the others. So any place really at this point.
Wasn't there some kind of chapel in the plans?
Sevia thinks, but not before looking at Fall, as if to be like, did you know Strahd could walk through doors? Like,
Fall is like,
phase through doors.
shakes
Anyone can
head.
walk through a door. Sevia and Fall are just like, what? Yes, I do believe there's a chapel, and she'll check her little map. I don't know if she would have noted a chapel since she was focusing on getting to either the heart or to the coffins. So if I need to make a roll to see if she remembers from the model where the chapel is, I will.
Yeah, you can make a roll.
Yep. Do I use my advantage? I will, yes. I would like to use advantage for this one. So that's a 20 and a 19.
Okay.
So I don't know what mod you need me to add to my nat 20.
It would be enough anyway. Like even as a straight intelligence check.
Yeah, because straight intelligence would be 25.
Yeah. So you can actually the chapel is on this floor. To the furthest end. Basically, if you can get back round to if you look on the map, it is the big room on that main floor towards the far right, the eastern side.
Yeah. My brain yes.
Yeah.
I can kind of tell how we get there. Okay. I'm not very good at maps.
Yeah. And of
Making
course,
us read decipher
of
maps
course,
is very...
remembering that like you can make your way, like you can essentially say we make our way back to like that main entrance
Yeah.
area
Well,
and go from there.
yeah. So, yeah, Sevia will be like, I remember how to get to the chapel, so let us go. And she will also use all 10 of her strength to help Esmeralda walk.
I was going to say Beatrice will offer to like piggyback Esmeralda if she needs.
Oh,
Okay.
All right. Esmeralda will take you up on that.
Alright.
nice.
And we will head back to big room.
Okay.
Will we?
Conrad will be
Yes.
tarrying. Who will be the last person in the line apart from him? And apart from Prime. He's not going to talk to Prime.
4 if it's no one else.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Conrad will then lean into Fawn and go, why does Esmeralda so sure about a chapel in Strahd's own home? That's what I want to know.
Oh, that's a good point.
Maybe the fall addled her brain.
Actually, yeah, did she see the maps?
Yeah, keep in mind you
Sure.
collectively had a discussion of the maps.
We have looked at the maps,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
It is just an interesting
Four has
assumption.
some-
And on top of that, it is not unreasonable to assume that a large castle such as this one would have been built with a chapel.
I guess four will be
Says
like, yeah,
the-
everywhere
the
has a
fo-
chapel.
It's well, it's more just the point that well, I suppose picking anywhere that feels safe to some people, I suppose, will make a difference.
Yes, I guess so. I suppose maybe. Hopefully, it's somewhere that's easily barricaded, although. Could Strahd really go through doors and walls and stuff?
Oh yes, yes. He sort of instead of having a proper like welcoming for the dinner, he sort of just faded through somewhere, laughing, or disappeared in some way. I'm not sure. Either way, this is his home, so he probably knows where all the trapdoors are and all that.
Wonderful.
But yeah, so another thing to watch out for, I suppose.
Yes, yes. It appears there's a many. Right, well, I guess anywhere's better than anywhere is well enough. I suppose we need somewhere to recover.
Of course, and Connor will stride on.
Okay.
Yes.
So from the main hall, you make your way east through the doors to the Hall of Faith. The grand hall choked with dust and stretching into darkness ahead. Webs hang from the arched ceiling like drapes, and life-size statues of knights line the hallway on both sides, their eyes seeming to watch you.
Ominous.
And then there are the double doors leading to the chapel at the end of this corridor.
Okay.
Connor notes the knights. He will get out a ball bearing and just roll it along the hallway.
Okay. There seems to be no reaction to it, other than the eyes following.
It's like
Actually, no, they wouldn't seem to follow.
Okay.
So yeah, it would be noted it wouldn't be until you're walking through the corridor that it appears that the eyes are following you.
cool.
42.
Yes, Conrad.
Would Prime like to lead?
That would be a wonderful idea. Prime, take point.
So I would say Sevia, the moment you start walking through this, you realize what's going on. Like this is something you recognize. It's a basic optical illusion.
Oh, fascinating. She will, without touching them, will go up and have a bit of a closer look. And just to look at the illusion eyes and just
There.
see if it's a physical optical illusion or a magical one. Just
it
from
is.
sight
It is a
alone.
mundane optical illusion, basically, achieved through essentially the angling of the statues and the heads and the eyes.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Well, look, one of those novelty things. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that of Strahd. What's going on?
The eyes follow us, but it's because of an optical illusion. It's purely mundane. You can find things like these in bric-a-brac stores.
Oh.
Between this and the skeletons hung up by wire in night costumes, Strahd seems to take more pride in the illusion of danger than of danger itself within the castle. Either he wishes to roam freely without fear of being attacked and wishes to scare those who come inside, or he views himself as the only danger necessary and toys with his food to be morbid about it.
or we haven't come across any of the other threats.
That is fair, but
Our
seems strange.
explorations have been somewhat limited by our specific goals.
Well, yes, but it seems strange. Whole hallway of optical illusions. For what? Unless, of course, there are other people that live here and he just likes to keep them spooked.
We shouldn't rule it out.
Hmm.
All right.
It seems weird enough for it.
As long as these optical illusions aren't going to attack us.
I don't believe so.
That's good.
All right. So, coming into the chapel itself, dim coloured lights filter through tall, broken and boarded up windows of stained glass, illuminating the ancient chapel of Ravenloft. A few bats flutter about near the top of the 90-foot high domed ceiling. A balcony runs the length of the west wall and 50 feet above the floor. In the center of the balcony, two dark shapes are slumped in tall chairs. Benches coated with centuries of dust lie about the floor in jumbled disarray. Beyond this debris, lit by a piercing shaft of light, an altar stands upon a stone platform. The sides of the altar are carved with bas-reliefs of angelic figures entwined with grapevines. The light from above falls directly on a silver statuette. A cloaked figure is draped over the altar, and a black mace lies on the floor near its feet.
Perception to see if any of these figures look alive.
Okay, yeah. Roll.
Exley would also like to do something like that.
That would be probably more either an investigation or a medicine check.
Okay. So then, in that case, that's a 21 for medicine check.
Okay.
14 medicine for Exley.
Okay. Fall, you pick up that they're dead.
Okay. Oh, yes, those are dead bodies.
Yeah, there appears to be a statuette that the corpse in the center platform, draped over the altar, is grasping for. So a little statuette on that altar.
And sorry, where was the mace?
The mace is on the ground by that body.
Okay. Exley's going to look around at everyone. and say, if there are no objections, I am incredibly aware of how dead things are not dead. And he will look at Prime. Thank you. If no one objects, I wish to remove the weapon from its grasp, or from its proximity.
Permitted.
Go ahead.
Yes.
There does seem to be some magical feeling to this this mace.
Okay.
There's clearly some sort of magical property to it.
Does it look fancy, or does it look evil?
Uh,
Does it look sharp?
it looks so it's kind of a. I'll share this image. It's kind of a dark blue rod with skulls at the head with
Pretty evil.
kind of fins protruding from them.
Glowing
Okay.
eyes almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks cool.
Yeah, the eyes of the skulls
Mm.
seem to glow with a magical power.
Exley will walk over to Mordenkainen and just hand it over.
Are you giving this to me, or are you requesting that it be identified?
I do not believe this would be the sort of weapon that you would have the capabilities to use.
And Mordenkainen is just going to use the first level slot to cast an identify on it. So it takes a minute still, but he eventually comes back with, this is a mace of terror.
Comforting.
Oh, wonderful.
It's
Which
Wonderful.
means
There's a-
what exactly?
So it has 3 charges, and while holding it, the wielder, who must be attuned to it, can use it to unleash a wave of terror, potentially making creatures within a 30-foot radius of them afraid of them for a minute. The creature who is afraid of you in that fashion must run away from you as fast as it can. It is compelled to do so.
Oh, good.
I see.
Good.
It's similar to my holy symbol.
Yes, but instead of casting glowing light, it instead unleashes a wave of terror, and apparently someone wielding something that can emit a wave of terror just died in this room. That's exceptional. Exceptional. Wonderful. Wait,
Yeah.
every room in this castle is a house of terrors, akin to that of a circus designed by nightmares. I don't like being here.
Don't know. Looks like the average summer home to me.
Stevie just puts her head in her hands.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, it would be
No, I think.
it would be well within reason to assume that there is some sort of enchantment on the icon on the altar. However, we have no knowledge of the being on the altar that has died from touching it.
Yes, I mean, it sort of implies a very obvious thing, looking at a corpse touching something
Mhm.
in this kind of setting. Is this one of the bodies that you can reanimate, 42?
Potentially, I would need to spend some time. However, that may interfere with Prime.
Yes. He looks, and Conrad looks Prime up and down. Probably not best. He might get jealous. Not good to have more than one sibling. Yes, well, good point, Prime. Alternatively, Conrad will throw a ball bearing at the altar. Like flick it like a marble.
Nothing happens as the ball bearing bounces.
It goes ping, 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 ping.
Yeah, bounces off of the altar.
Okay. Pretty good shot, though, I must say. Well, cool. We've found the church that you wish to rest in. Esmeralda, does this make you feel calmed? Your bones remended?
Calm enough to take a rest.
Okay. Good. Well, I will pace the perimeter to ascertain the entire area then, which is what Conrad will do.
Okay. So, everyone, I take it, everyone is free to take the benefits of a short rest, including rolling hit dice to regain hit points, regaining any abilities that recharge upon a short rest. Sevia, you can regain your levels of spell slots.
Fool is going to go into meditation and hum softly, which is acting as a song of rest. So everyone's going to get an extra 1d6 points if you're rolling hit die.
Aww. I will say Conrad will probably go to speak to Exley at some point during this, but if someone else wants to, you can. Or if X is like, I will run directly away from Conrad, that's fine too. Just putting that in there now.
Exley did want to maybe at like minute 23, halfway through minute 23 of the rest, just very quickly pace over to Sevia and just ask what a bric-a-brac is.
Oh, well, yes, no, I figure you probably don't have those in Barovia. Most stores I have seen around Barovia do not tend to. They do not look like places at which one would sell bric-a-brac, and if they were, you certainly would not be able to afford the bric-a-brac. So, bric-a-brac, I do feel as if I used the word wrong, but bric-a-brac, well, this is me, Zoe, Googling the meaning of bric-a-brac so I don't get it wrong and disgrace my 20 intelligence character.
Sorry.
Oh, here we go. Well, it first formed not long ago, actually, only 100 years or so, as a word from Navora, actually. And it refers to, let me remember, lesser objet d'art, forming collections of curios, such as elaborate teacups, small vases, wax flowers under glass domes, painted miniatures, just little things you would put upon a mantelpiece, basically, and say, like, oh, look at this thing I purchased at the bric-a-brac shop, and then people would say, oh, yes, what lovely bric-a-brac you have upon your mantelpiece.
So it is a store.
It's an object you can purchase at a store, generally. Just little things, small. For instance, you have several mushrooms upon you, yes?
I do.
If one of those mushrooms were to be, say, encased in amber, and then placed upon a little disc, and then put under a little glass dome, you could sell that for money, and people would be like, that is a nice piece of bric-a-brac. I shall put it upon a bookshelf or a mantle. It's a useless thing people tend to use, but it makes people feel good. Yes.
Oh. Thank you. And Exley will just turn and walk back to where he was.
You're welcome. Sevia continues what she was doing, which was going through the motions of arcane recovery, but is now also confused. As she's probably also sitting near Fall as he does his little meditation and is trying to work out if she knows any of the songs they're singing. Probably not, but she's trying to think.
Probably not. Yeah, it's probably local Palas songs. Feel like war songs and fun stuff like that. Maybe some lullabies. Yeah, Fall's going to be doing that as people heal, and then we'll go over to check up on also quickly check up on Esmeralda. How is she doing?
Beatrice has been tending to Esmeralda.
Yeah. So Esmeralda, I have rolled her hit dice recovery. She's still looking beaten and bruised narratively, but mechanically she is back and fighting fit. I just managed to get her back to full hit points by using every last hit dice. Plus your Song of Rest.
Yes. Excellent. Oh, cool. I guess we'll just be like, do you need any help with Esmeralda, Beatrice?
No, I think I have it handled.
Yes, I think you've done wonders there. She seems to have recovered quite rapidly. Is medicine something that you are familiar with?
Relatively. Spending a lot of time in the places that I have, you have to get good at patching yourself and others up.
Yes, definitely. I can imagine that would sometimes come into handy with your occupation. Right. Well, excellent. I guess I probably don't need to attempt any further healing spells. I think that little one before with the meditation actually worked.
I think that helped a lot.
Oh, yes, that's good. I'm glad. I'm quite new to this magic stuff still, so good. Well,
keep practicing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. No, I'm glad I learned a little bit just in time. Well, all right. I'll leave you to it.
Everyone except for Sevia at one point during the short rest notices Mordenkainen go up to the altar and reach. Like, he seems to have made a calculated decision and goes up to the altar and reaches for the icon. And he removes it from the altar and nothing happens. Curious.
What are you doing?
I made a calculated risk and seems to have paid off. From here I can identify the thing and see if I can determine why it seems to have killed this fellow.
You think that's the thing that killed him?
It's a reasonable deduction. He was touching it during his final pose.
That is true. Doesn't tell me why you would want to touch it.
I have time for recovery if the worst should happen, and I made a calculated risk.
All right.
Sevia, who I'm assuming her passive was too low to spot that before. Yep. So when she looks up and sees this happen and hears this all occur, She makes eye contact with each member of the party with just like the most disbelieving look on her face, and then quietly says to herself, "Wizards."
Conrad looks especially sulky, and under his breath, be like, "Oh, it's okay when someone else does it. Then it's for him. It's the greater good, right?"
So he's
Where is Conrad when he says this?
He probably
Cause-
would have like wandered around. Noticed that there are like literally 3 openings at least in this room, and just like shook his head in the direction of Esmeralda. And then he's probably like, because these are all like pews, the little wooden things.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
He's probably like flumped himself down on one with like his feet up on like the rest of one. So I don't know. He probably knew Beatrice enough for her to hear, for her gay little ears to hear.
all right. So after a minute of casting Identify again, Mordenkainen says, yes, that explains it. When this icon was attached to the altar, anyone that was of a less reputable moral compass would potentially be greatly harmed by it.
In what way?
An inordinate amount of radiant damage.
So could we just throw it at Strahd then? I'd say he fits the bill quite well.
Unfortunately, it seems that it requires it to be connected to the altar to deal this damage.
So reattach it and then shove him into it is what you're saying.
It's not an unreasonable idea.
Or find a way of tricking him into touching.
What did you? Prime could pick him up and throw him onto, or push him onto that, couldn't he? If we got him close enough.
It can certainly be attempted.
I find it
Yeah.
doubtful that he could be tricked into touching it, but forcibly making him touch it, that could be reasonable. However, that is not the only purpose of this icon. It also enables this might actually be a good place to face Strahd if we can get him here.
Mhm.
Any creature within 30 feet of the icon is under the protection of a protection from evil and good spell against fiends and undead. However, there are also other properties that someone who attunes themselves to the icon can use. Namely, the casting of an augury spell, the use of a reasonably potent cure wounds spell, and improvement of the effectiveness of one's ability to turn away the undead.
When you say persons of certain moral inclination, how does that determine that? And is it only the altar that the touch is bad to? And how does an altar decide what someone's morality is anyway?
It's not that the altar decides, it's that the enchanter decided it when they applied the enchantment. However, the ability to attune to the icon is under the same sort of rigor.
Indeed. Interesting. Well, this is good to know that it has these abilities. This is quite fortuitous in that regard.
Those of us here, I suspect the only ones who may be able to attune to this are Esmeralda, potentially Sevia, maybe fall at a stretch. Depends on what definitions. What the bounds of good were.
Fall is gonna like whisper to
Excuse
see
me.
I could see that.
Yeah, Sevia fully stands up from where she is next to Fall, and she's just like, "Did you just make a moral judgment on my friends? Who's to say that not all of us could attune to this little statuette? That seems quite
I believe we've
unfair to say
already-
that about Conrad and Exley."
Sevia, I do believe that we've already
What?
covered the fact that I am an assassin with very few morals. Exley's a robot who hasn't learned any of that. And Conrad is Conrad.
But that does not
No
mean
offense,
you aren't
Conrad,
good
but-
people.
And I think personally that if it
And
let Mordenkainen and picking up, then it probably doesn't. It's not the most stringent about morals anyway.
The little words Conrad greatly approves
See,
appears at the
like-
top left corner of the screen.
The trap,
Sevia's just like,
I was
also,
gonna whisper that, but then
the trap fall only triggers when a creature of evil intent touches it. Someone of neutral intent can touch it, though they may not attune themselves to it. Additionally, there is a greater meaning to evil and good and chaotic and lawful than your simple philosophical assumptions. There is more to the universe and to the planes of existence than your petty humanoid squabblings. There is a greater knowledge. There is a greater impetus towards evil and good in the wider planar wheel than any of you have any understanding of. And it often...
well, that's all well and good, Mordenkainen, but I think you fail to notice that you are still a human.
A human who has actually studied these cosmological phenomena.
A human who's sat in his little hole
I get
waiting
it, you're
for...
smart!
Beatrice has started, like, puffing up. Like, her feathers are starting to, like... She's becoming an orb. I don't think it's a very good idea to be arguing amongst each other at this point in time. Perhaps we can discuss the philosophy of moral quandaries at another time, but now is not that time.
I am going to take a rest, and Sevia's going to go sit in a corner and face a wall and not talk to anyone.
Exley's going to step up and be
Good.
say, perhaps now may not be the good time to be yelling.
Also very true.
Good point. 42, I would wish to speak with you.
Very well.
Over there. He points to the furthest possible corner.
Exley will go.
And Cora's like blushing because he's annoyed. Because he got very huffy the second that all the people started talking.
Fall is just gonna be like just standing very still, like desperately moving to like desperately wanting to continue arguing with Mordenkainen, and then is just going to kind of just like turn on his heel huffily and just kind of storm over to Sevia and sit down beside her. Worst kind of person, and oh, he's so mean, and just I don't trust him. Just muttering to himself.
Sevie is like, I immediately regret yelling at him. Oh gods. Oh gods. Oh no. Oh no. I've ruined everything. Oh no. And then just silently sits there with her head in her hands for the rest of the short rest.
I'll just be like, no, that was great. That was really cool. Just like being really supportive.
Sevie is not listening and is now just muttering to herself, being like, I've gone and messed it up.
Oh,
I've ruined everything. Mordenkainen. I've studied his books. I've ruined everything. Ah.
Full just pats on the back. Oh, they say you should never meet your heroes. Yeah. Alright, Conroy next week.
Oh yes. When Conrad will turn around and he looks a bit very huffy, kind of like puts his hand on his hips and then puts them down again, and puts his hand on his hips again, and then he's like, 42. Question. What happened before?
In Valaki, do you mean?
Yes, in Valaki. You said you got a quick, I assume, magic. I assume and I accept. What happened in Valaki? Will you speak it?
Exley pauses for a moment. And his eyes kind of like zoom in and out a little bit, almost like he's calibrating. And after probably a good 10 seconds, he'll say, I made a decision that I believed to be best for the entirety of the group.
You made decision as leader?
No. I made a decision as someone who does not have stakes in this world.
I see. Technically, none of us do either. Will you speak of decision?
As there is nothing that anyone can do to reverse it. Yes, I will.
Good.
I believed
Conrad
that
leans against the wall.
I believed that if there was any way we could entice Strahd and his companions to leave the castle, it is not through deception, but through truth.
Through truth.
I delivered a letter to Strahd 2 days ago.
You delivered letter to Strahd? And
I
Conrad's like brow furrows in suspicion. How? And what? I ask questions. Continue. I am more interested in the outcome and what you have done.
The letter that
You
I
delivered
delivered.
letter.
The letter I delivered outlined my plans to present him with his bride. And I believed this to be what Strahd was after, and the perfect bait to ensure that he left Ravenloft.
Yes.
So, while the rest of you were on your way to Ravenloft, I stole and subsequently hid the bones of St. Andrew that were protecting the church.
Conrad looks like surprised. Moment like his eyebrows raise, but then he kind of like has this horrible like grin. That it like shifts, his face expression shifts to he's like, you stole the bones.
I believed this to be the best strategy to ensure that Strahd left Ravenloft.
Fantastic. You did it. I was not certain. I thought you would go with plan that the others had made, but you went with the plan we had considered, that you had raised earlier. Excellent. So Strahd came because Arena was no longer protected?
That is correct.
Excellent thinking. Good. Do you know how it went? Or did you leave quickly?
I left as soon as everything started. I would hazard a guess that it did not go well. However, if we are to succeed in our mission, you will all get out safely.
Yes. It will be fine. Either way, it remains to be seen for whom it did not go well for. Regardless, it has given us time to destroy the heart and find some time to rest in this strange chapel. So I think overall it is a very good plan. And as I may have mentioned earlier, or at least implied, I hold no stakes here in Barovia. I agree that Strahd must be taken down as leader of this land for us to achieve passage out of here. One question I wonder, you were considering following us as long as we oppose Strahd. If we were to leave, would you follow us then, out of Barovia?
I do not know. I do not know what will happen if any of us will have a choice.
This is true. We have only been told that we may seek passage out of here, that Strahd is the reason why we are here, by people who have stakes in finding his demise. So it is hard to say whether that will be the truth or what the circumstances shall be. But it will be interesting if there is a choice, as you make your own choices now. And I personally thank you for sharing with me, as I think that was a good one. After
You are most
all,
welcome.
Ismark and Arena had option. That was their head start. And if you could steal it, this is no discredit to you, then perhaps that was the future they've made for themselves. I thank you for sharing it with me, though. I have one last question. Do you wish this information to be shared with the others? You did say earlier that you did not think they would understand, as I may. I'm good at keeping secrets, if you will.
As they cannot impact the result of my decision, I do not wish to keep it secret. I leave you to all be friends. And I do not wish to keep secrets from you.
Ah, yes. Well, people of any companionship hold many secrets from one another. But if this is a secret you do not need to keep because it will not impact the results of what has happened there, then I understand, then I appreciate that. I will, however, leave it in your hands, unless you wish me to speak with them of it, as it is your action. But I will once again say I think it was the best option, and one that I would have wholeheartedly supported if I were involved more directly.
I
So
apologize for not involving you directly. However, that was also a judgment call. I believed that if I might use your wisdom in purely hypotheticals, I can get a better idea of potential outcomes, whilst also not impacting your Morality.
Morality. Well, that is a sound assessment. I think that is quite a wise one. I am glad you make your meaning plain now, but I think that is good. I think you've utilized the tools at your disposal quite well. And as you have seen with that delightful little outburst from everyone, clearly the concept of morality is very important to many. I personally care not much for it, but I do care for how people perceive me more than I wish, so I do appreciate that. Good. Thank you for the talk, 42. I hope that we will find out many more answers to those questions we have just posed shortly, when we kill Strahd properly and finally. And we will see whether we get to leave or whether we'll just leave a throne and to be filled. Either way, I'm sure it will go well, and I think your gamble was a good one. So, good job, Exley. And he does like the same shoulder punch that he tried to do awkwardly to fall before. So there's like a little ting. And there we go. And then he just kind of like goes back to rest against the wall. He makes no effort to walk off.
Exley will then wander back to the rest of the group. And he'll sort of try and keep an ear out because he's aware that we have made a little bit of noise. So he's checking for if anyone is investigating the source of the disturbance.
Yeah. Roll me a perception check.
24.
24. There doesn't seem to be anyone... It doesn't seem like there's anyone necessarily investigating, but you do hear steps from a far distance entering into the castle. There is a certain weight to them.
Okay. Exley will very quietly but very aggressively flail his arms around to get everyone's attention, tap where normal humans have ears, and point at the door.
Conrad will immediately get up from where he was doing his bad boy pose and move closer to the center of the room where everyone else is.
Yeah.
With his rapier drawn.
A few moments later, at about the close...
Sevia will immediately... Oh, internet, once again.
Oh,
wonderful.
no, you go ahead if it's set up.
No, Sevia gets out of her little panic corner and also goes to the center on the other side of the pews to where
Will follow her.
Conrad is gone.
Beatrice stands
She's no
up
longer in a
and
tiny little corner.
Beatrice stands up and draws her bow.
Esmeralda stands up and draws her... What weapon would she hold in hand? She would draw her hand axe, we'll say. Actually, she would have her rapier, both her rapier and her hand axe out. So rapier in her main hand, hand axe in the other.
Exley and Prime will flank the door.
Alright. And you see slowly, in a very calculating manner, but there is a definite anger to his face, Exley. Strahd just phased through the door, and his gaze immediately turns to you, And he says, I do not like when people lie to me. Exley. For that, you must be punished. And that's where we're going to leave it for this episode.
Okay.
Very naughty boy.
Yeah, you must be punished by Papa.
No.
Oh.
I apologize.
See you next week,
Have a
everyone.
good
See you next week.
Fun.
Bye.